What happens when the most dominant lightweight champion in the UFC gets asked about fighting one of the most feared middleweights on the planet? You'd expect fireworks, right? But instead, Islam Makhachev's response raised eyebrows across the MMA world. When asked about Khamzat Chimaev, the Dagestani champion didn't call him out, didn't challenge him, and didn't talk about legacy. Instead, he distanced himself, saying he wants no part of a clash that could divide his people. This is huge. It's not just about two of the most dangerous fighters in the UFC, it's about respect, politics, and the complicated brotherhood inside the sport. And as that story unfolds, two legends, Rampage Jackson and TJ Dillashaw, have stepped in with blunt criticism of Dricus Du Plessis after his brutal loss to Chimaev. Tonight, we're breaking it all down. Why Makhachev wants no smoke with Khamzat, what Rampage and Dillashaw really think about DDP, and how these clashes could reshape the future of multiple divisions. And stick with me, because by the end, you'll see why this moment could mark a turning point in UFC's balance of power. When Islam Makhachev speaks, fans listen. He isn't the loudest man in the UFC. He doesn't cut wild promos or throw tables at press conferences. But what makes his words matter is the dominance behind them. The Dagestani champion has taken the lightweight division hostage in a way we've rarely seen since his mentor, Khabib Nurmagomedov, held the belt. His wrestling suffocates, his striking has improved dramatically, and his calm demeanor outside the cage has made him seem untouchable inside it. So when a reporter asked him about Khamzat Chimaev, a man many believe could be Islam's equal in strength, ferocity, and grappling, the world expected him to flash the steel of a champion. To say, yes, I'll fight him. Line him up. But that's not what happened. Instead, Islam leaned back, thought carefully, and chose his words with precision. He explained that a fight with Chimaev is not one he wants, not because of fear, but because of something deeper. Both men come from the Caucasus region. Both share cultural and historical bonds that are older than the UFC itself. For Islam, fighting Khamzat wouldn't just be competition. It would risk dividing their people, splitting their fans, and turning brotherhood into rivalry. It was a moment of honesty rarely seen in a sport that thrives on trash talk and spectacle. Makhachev wasn't ducking. He was drawing a line between legacy and loyalty. To him, certain battles aren't worth fighting. Not because they can't be won, but because winning them costs more than they're worth. Yet Islam didn't shy away from other challenges. He named Ilia Topuria, the Spanish-Georgian phenom who dethroned Alexander Volkanovski, as a potential opponent. That's a super fight fans would pay anything to see. Two champions, two dominant forces, colliding in their primes. For Islam, that fight made sense. It was historic, but without the baggage of tearing apart his own cultural ties. And that decision, choosing Topuria over Chimaev, sparked the debate we see now. Was Makhachev being wise or cautious to the point of self-preservation? To understand why this question is so explosive, you have to understand Khamzat Chimaev. Few fighters in UFC history have risen with such raw speed and dominance. He burst onto the scene during the pandemic, smashing opponents with a level of ferocity that left commentators stunned. Dana White himself compared him to a mix of Khabib and Jon Jones, a savage wrestler with knockout power who could finish fights in seconds. But hype only lasts so long without substance, and Chimaev has proved he's no fluke. His most recent domination of Dricus Du Plessis didn't just silence critics, it reignited fear. From the opening seconds, Chimaev overwhelmed DDP with physicality. His takedowns looked effortless, his top control suffocating, his pace relentless. Dricus, who had been touted as one of the toughest middleweights alive, looked outclassed, unable to breathe under the pressure. It wasn't just a win, it was a warning. Chimaev isn't coming, he's here. And if you're anywhere near his division, your path to the belt runs through him. That's why the thought of him against Islam became irresistible to fans. Because if anyone could test Makhachev's iron grip on the lightweight division, or at least match his style, it would be Khamzat. And yet, Islam's refusal reminded everyone that this isn't just sport. It's politics, it's identity, it's legacy. a super fight so perfect on paper may never happen, not because of fear, but because of history. But in the shadows of that super fight dream sits Dricus Du Plessis, and his name is now being dragged by legends of the sport. Rampage Jackson, a man who fought in the most brutal era of light heavyweight wars, didn't hold back. He said flatly that DDP should not ask for a rematch, that he was exposed, dominated, and shown to be levels behind Chimaev. Rampage even suggested that Dricus think about moving divisions, because the gap looked too wide to close. For a fighter like Dricus, who only months ago was riding high as a fan favorite with endless heart and determination, those words sting. Rampage wasn't just critiquing his performance, he was questioning his ceiling, his very future at the elite level. Then came Dillashaw, himself a former bantamweight champion, who knows what it takes to prepare for monsters. Dillashaw was clinical in his breakdown. He said Dricus' grappling looked amateurish against Chimaev, like he wasn't ready for the storm. He highlighted Chimaev's cardio and relentlessness, pointing out that Dricus looked overwhelmed from the opening bell. Together, Rampage and Dillashaw painted a brutal picture. Dricus isn't just behind Chimaev. He may never catch up. That kind of criticism can bury a fighter, or it can light a fire that defines the rest of their career. And here's where things get even more fascinating. While Islam says he won't fight Chimaev for reasons of loyalty, and while Rampage and Dillashaw dismiss Dricus' future, the UFC sits in the middle. The promotion has never shied away from pushing fights that seemed impossible. From McGregor crossing into boxing to Jon Jones finally moving up to heavyweight. After years of speculation, the UFC knows how to make the unthinkable real. So the question hangs in the air. Could Islam versus Khamzat still happen one day, no matter what Islam says now? Could Dana White, with the right payday, convince even the most loyal champion to put friendship aside? Stay with me, because the climax of this story isn't just about one fight. It's about the brutal truth of what MMA really values: loyalty or spectacle. Here's the truth that can't be ignored. Islam Makhachev's reluctance, Khamzat Chimaev's destruction, and Dricus Du Plessis' humiliation all reveal the same reality. MMA isn't just about who is the best fighter, it's about narratives, about storylines that sell, about spectacle, even when it comes at the expense of fighters themselves. Islam's choice to avoid Chimaev wasn't fear, it was wisdom. But in a sport built on hype, wisdom is often mistaken for weakness. Fans don't always want diplomacy. They want conflict. They want their heroes to clash, no matter the cost. And that pressure over time can turn even the most principled fighter into a reluctant participant in the machine. Chimaev, on the other hand, is a product of that machine's appetite. His dominance over Dricus wasn't just a win, it was a feeding frenzy. Fans, promoters, and legends didn't just applaud him, they tore into Dricus as collateral. His loss became content, his struggle became a storyline, his career became a question mark to be debated rather than respected. That's the paradox of MMA. Fighters risk everything: their bodies, their health, their futures. And yet, when those risks lead to collapse, injury, or humiliation, the sport doesn't stop. It turns the pain into fuel. For Islam, the cost is public pressure. For Chimaev, the cost is being cast as the monster everyone fears but no one wants. For Dricus, the cost is his reputation, his status, maybe even his career. And for the UFC? For the UFC, it's business as usual. Because every refusal, every destruction, every criticism is content. It keeps the machine moving. So what do we take away from all this? Islam Makhachev's refusal to fight Khamzat Chimaev showed that loyalty can matter more than spectacle, at least for now. Khamzat's brutal destruction of Dricus Du Plessis showed that hype can quickly turn into dominance. And the harsh words of Rampage Jackson and Dillashaw reminded us that in MMA, reputations are fragile and respect is earned in blood. The future is uncertain. Islam may one day be pressured into facing Khamzat if the demand becomes overwhelming. Khamzat may continue to bulldoze through divisions until no one can deny his claim to multiple belts. And Dricus may either crumble under the criticism or rise from it, proving legends wrong and carving his own redemption arc. But what's certain is this: MMA is as much about the stories we tell as the fights we watch. And right now, the stories of Islam, Khamzat, and Dricus are colliding in ways that reveal the beauty, the brutality, and the contradictions of this sport we can't look away from. Now, I want to hear from you. Should Islam Makhachev stand firm and refuse a fight with Khamzat forever? Or should he give fans the clash they're dreaming of? And do you agree with Rampage and Dillashaw that Dricus Du Plessis may never catch up? Or do you believe he deserves a chance at redemption? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this deep dive, don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss a breakdown of the moments shaping MMA. Thanks for watching. And I'll see you in the next one.